The battle outside raged through the night. The walls of the safe room shook with distant blasts, and the soldiers inside waited, tense and quiet. Kyrina gripped the small stun weapon Ethan had given her, her mind racing. She watched the humans around her and saw the fear and worry in their faces. They reminded her of her own people. In war, everyone was afraid. Ethan sat close beside Kyrina, ready to protect her if needed. Some soldiers still looked at him with doubt, but he did not move away from her. He wanted her to feel safe, even in the middle of chaos. For hours they listened to the fighting outside, not knowing if their side would win or lose. Finally, the sounds of gunfire and explosions faded. An officer came to the safe room and told everyone the attack was over. The enemy had been pushed back. It was safe to return to their duties. Ethan helped Kyrina stand, and together they left the crowded room. Outside, the base was a mess. Smoke hung in the air, and the ground was littered with broken equipment and debris. Some wounded soldiers were being helped to the medical tent. Others worked to repair the walls and machines. Kyrina looked at the destruction and felt sadness. She thought about how war destroyed everything: homes, friendships, and hope. Ethan brought Kyrina back to the medical tent. She sat quietly while he checked her leg. It was healing, but slowly. He changed her bandage and gave her some water. Kyrina watched his careful hands and felt a new sense of respect for the human soldier. He was brave and gentle, a combination she had never seen before. Captain Carter came to see them. His face was serious. "Corporal Blake, I need to speak with you," he said. Ethan nodded and stepped outside with the captain. Leaving Kyrina alone in the tent, Rina listened to the distant sounds of repair and low voices. She wondered what would happen next. She did not want to return to her own people, not after what she had seen and learned. She also knew the humans would never fully trust her. She felt trapped between two worlds, unsure where she belonged. After a while, Ethan returned, looking worried. He sat beside Kyrina and spoke quietly. "The officers think I'm too close to you. They don't trust it. They want me to keep my distance." Kyrina looked down, feeling a sting of sadness. "Will you listen to them?" Ethan shook his head. "No, I believe in what I'm doing. I want to help you, even if it gets me in trouble." Kyrina felt a small smile come to her lips. "Thank you. I am glad you are my friend." The days passed slowly. Ethan and Kyrina saw less of each other during the day, but he always came to see her in the evenings when most people were asleep. They talked about many things: the war, their families, their dreams. Each night, they grew closer. One evening, Ethan arrived with a new worry on his face. "Some of the other soldiers think you are dangerous," he told Kyrina. "They want you moved to a different base, away from here." Kyrina felt fear for the first time in many days. She did not want to be sent away. This place and Ethan had become her only comfort. "Will you let them take me?" she asked softly. Ethan shook his head. "I will do everything I can to stop them, but I don't know if it will be enough." The next day, a group of soldiers came to the medical tent. They brought orders to move Kyrina. Ethan argued with them, but the orders were clear. Kyrina was placed in a transport vehicle with Ethan riding along as a guard. He stayed by her side, showing everyone that he would not abandon her. The trip to the new base was tense. The soldiers around them whispered about Ethan and Kyrina. Some said Ethan was a traitor for helping an alien. Others said Kyrina was using him. Ethan ignored the comments. He only cared about Kyrina's safety. When they arrived at the new base, the officers were colder. Kyrina was given a small room with a locked door. She felt like a prisoner again. She missed the talk she shared with Ethan and the moments of quiet comfort. Still, she tried to stay hopeful. She remembered what Ethan had said. Someone had to break the cycle of hate. Ethan was allowed to visit her only once a day. When he came, they talked through a glass window. He promised her he would not give up, that he would find a way to help. Kyrina told him stories about her home and her dreams for the future. She began to believe that maybe, one day, peace was possible. Days turned into weeks. One morning, alarms sounded at the new base. Another attack was coming. This time, the base was less prepared. Soldiers rushed around in panic, and Kirina's door was forgotten in the chaos. She slipped out and found her way to the command center. There, she saw a group of human soldiers trapped by enemy fire. Without thinking, Kirina used her knowledge of Zeltan tactics to guide them to safety. She risked her own life to help, showing everyone that she could be trusted. After the attack ended, the officers saw what Kirina had done. They called Ethan to the command room and spoke to both of them. Captain Carter looked at Kirina and said, "You saved our people today. Maybe you are not our enemy after all." Ethan smiled at Kirina. She smiled back, knowing that her actions had changed some hearts and minds. For the first time since the war began, Kirina felt hope not just for herself, but for everyone on both sides of the conflict. Morning light came through the thin fabric of the medical tent. Kirina was awake before most of the others, her mind turning with worry. Her legs still hurt, but it was stronger than before. She sat quietly on the bed, thinking about everything that had changed since she met Ethan. Ethan entered the tent, his steps careful and his voice soft. "How did you sleep?" he asked. He always asked the same question each morning, but today Kirina answered more honestly. "I slept better," she said. "I was not afraid." Ethan smiled and handed her some simple breakfast. The small kindness made Kirina's chest feel warm, though she tried not to show it. She watched him as he cleaned up the area around her bed, doing chores that were not his duty. She was beginning to understand that he did not help her out of orders, but because he wanted to. A short while later, 2 soldiers came into the tent. They wore stiff uniforms and had hard eyes. They looked at Kirina like she was dangerous, even though she was too weak to fight. "Corporal Blake, you are wanted in the command tent," said one soldier. The other kept his hand close to his weapon. As he watched KY Rena. Ethan nodded and left, but not before giving Kirina a quiet look that said, "Don't worry." Kirina listened as the humans spoke in hushed voices outside. She knew they still did not trust her, and she wondered if she would ever be free from suspicion. When Ethan returned, his face was serious. He sat beside her, glancing around as if making sure no one could hear. "They want to ask you questions again," he whispered. "This time, the officers think you might know something important." Kirina nodded. She understood why they would ask. Still, it made her feel strange, like she was just a tool to be used. The officers soon arrived. Captain Carter stood over her with a hard face. "We need your help," Carter said. "Our scanners show your people are planning another attack. If you know anything that can help us, now is the time to speak." Kirina hesitated. She did not want to betray her people. But when she looked at Ethan, she saw a different choice. Maybe she could help stop more fighting. Maybe she could help both sides. "I know where the attack will come from," she said finally, her voice low. "I will tell you, but only if you promise not to hurt anyone who surrenders." Carter looked at her with surprise, then nodded. "If you help us, we will show mercy." Kirina explained what she knew, drawing a simple map on a scrap of paper. The officers left in a hurry to plan their defense. When they were gone, Ethan looked at her with relief and pride. "You did the right thing," he said. "Thank you." Kirina felt a weight lift from her shoulders. For the first time, she had made a choice for herself, not because of orders or fear, but because she believed it was right. As the day passed, Kirina noticed the other soldiers watching her. Some looked at her with curiosity, others with distrust. Only a few, like Laura, started to treat her like another person instead of an enemy. That night, the base was on high alert. Alarms sounded again, but this time the humans were ready. When the Zeltan forces attacked, they met a strong defense. Many aliens tried to break through, but were stopped by the humans' careful planning and brave fighting. Kirina stayed in the medical tent, her heart pounding with worry for both sides. She hoped that those who surrendered would be treated kindly. As she had asked, when the fighting finally ended, Ethan came back to the tent, tired and dirty. He sat next to Kirina, resting his head in his hands. "We stopped them," he said quietly. "Some surrendered. We took them in." Kirina was glad. She knew she had helped save lives, and it made her feel stronger. Ethan looked at her, his face softening. "The officers want to move you to a safer place," he told her. "Some people think you're a traitor to your kind, but others see what you did and respect you. I want you to know I'm proud of you." Kirina felt a mix of pride and sadness. She missed her old life, but she was no longer sure if she wanted to go back. Here, among humans, she had found kindness she had never known before. As the days passed, Kirina began to heal. She could walk with only a slight limp. Sometimes she helped the medics by translating when captured Zeltans were brought in. She saw fear in their eyes, and she remembered how she had once felt. She told them about Ethan and how the humans had saved her. Some listened, while others did not believe. One evening, as the sun set over the base, Kirina and Ethan walked together. Along the edge of the camp, the sky was painted with colors she had never seen on her home world. She asked Ethan about his planet, and he told her about green fields, blue oceans, and warm rain. He asked her about Zeltha, and she spoke of towering purple trees and cold. White rivers. They talked quietly for a long time. Both felt a growing connection, a friendship built on trust and respect, not fear, but not everyone was happy with their closeness. Some soldiers whispered that Ethan was too soft, that he trusted the enemy too much. Others warned Kirina to keep her distance, but neither listened. They both knew something important had changed between them. One night, Ethan sat alone thinking. He knew his actions had made him a target for suspicion. Still, he believed he had done what was right. When Kirina joined him, he smiled and handed her a cup of tea. "Do you miss your people?" he asked quietly. Kirina was silent for a while. "I miss what I thought we were. But now, I'm not sure anymore. I think I'm changing." Ethan nodded. "That's not a bad thing. Maybe we can both change for the better." Kirina looked at the stars above and felt hope for the first time. She knew the war was not over, but she also knew that trust could start with two people, even if they were from different worlds. Kirina opened her eyes slowly, the world around her blurry and strange. She was lying on a soft bed in a small, bright room. The walls were smooth and white, and there was a soft humming sound coming from the machines beside her. Her body ached, especially her injured leg, but she felt much lighter than before. She tried to move, but her muscles were stiff and weak. She looked around confused, trying to remember what had happened. The memories came back slowly, the battle, the pain, the human soldier who had helped her. She remembered his determined face and the gentle way he spoke, even as bullets had flown past him. For a moment, she wondered if she was dreaming. Door to the room opened quietly. Ethan stepped in, carrying a tray with a cup of water and some food. He wore the same dirty uniform from the battlefield, but his eyes looked tired and worried now. "You're awake," Ethan said softly, placing the tray on a small table beside her bed. "How do you feel?" Kirina stared at him, not sure what to say. "I am alive," she finally replied, her voice rough. "Why am I here? Why did you bring me to this place?" Ethan smiled gently. "You needed help. I couldn't leave you out there. This is a human medical tent. The doctors patched up your leg. You're safe for now." She shifted on the bed, her mind full of questions. "Your people will hate you for saving me. I am your enemy." Ethan shook his head. "Not everyone thinks that way. Some do, yes, but not all." Kirina watched as he poured her a cup of water and handed it to her. She took it carefully, surprised by his kindness. Her own people would never have shown mercy to an enemy. In the Zeltan army, only the strongest survived. Mercy was seen as weakness. As Kirina sipped the water, Ethan sat beside her. The silence grew heavy between them, broken only by the gentle sounds of the medical machines. Finally, Karina spoke. Again, what will happen to me now? Ethan's face grew serious. The officers want to ask you questions. They think you might have information about the enemy's plans. They're suspicious. But you're not a prisoner. You're hurt. I told them you're not a threat right now. Karina looked away, unsure. If she believed him, why do you care? Ethan shrugged. I don't know. Maybe I just don't like seeing anyone suffer. Doesn't matter if you're human or Zelton. They sat quietly for a while. The strange feeling of safety confused Karina. She was used to fighting, not kindness. Her thoughts kept returning to the moment Ethan had risked his life for her, while her own people had left her behind. She wondered if she would have done the same in his place. Later, 2 human officers entered the room. One was a tall man with dark hair named Captain Carter, and the other was a sharp-eyed woman named Lieutenant Grace Miller. They looked at Karina with cold, careful eyes. Corporal Blake, Captain Carter said, please step outside. We need to speak to the alien. Ethan gave Karina a gentle nod and quietly left the room. The officers began asking Karina questions about the Zelton army, their leaders, and their plans. Karina refused to answer, staying silent and proud. She would not betray her people, even if they had abandoned her. After a long while, the officers left, clearly frustrated. Ethan returned, bringing more food and a simple blanket for Karina. She accepted them in silence, but deep inside, she felt a small sense of gratitude. Days passed in the medical tent. Karina's wounds slowly healed, thanks to human medicine. Ethan visited every day, checking on her and talking quietly. At first, she kept her distance, but soon she found herself waiting for his visits. She started asking him questions about his life, about Earth, and about why he was a soldier. Ethan told her simple stories about his childhood, his family, and why he had joined the army. Karina listened closely. She realized he was not much different from herself. He missed his home and worried about the people he cared about. He did not hate her, even though they were supposed to be enemies. One afternoon, Karina asked a question that had bothered her since the day Ethan saved her. Why did you risk everything for me? Your friends were angry. You could have died. Ethan looked thoughtful. I guess I just wanted to do the right thing. If we keep hating each other, nothing will ever change. Someone has to break the cycle. Maybe it can start with us. Karina was silent. She stared at her hands, trying to make sense of his words. No one had ever spoken to her like that before. That night, as the base settled into uneasy silence, a loud alarm suddenly echoed through the medical tent. Red lights flashed, and soldiers rushed down the hallways. Ethan burst into Karina's room, worry on his face. We're under attack again, he said urgently. Can you walk? Karina tried to stand, but her leg trembled with pain. Ethan helped her up, wrapping her arm around his shoulders. As they moved through the corridors, Ethan handed Karina a small emergency stun weapon. Just in case, he whispered. You're not my enemy anymore. Not tonight. They joined a group of soldiers in a safe room, waiting for the attack to pass. The room was tense. Some soldiers glared at Karina, distrustful and afraid. But Ethan stayed close by her side, showing the others he trusted her. As the noise of battle grew louder, Karina realized she was no longer sure which side she belonged to. She only knew that Ethan had become someone she could trust. For the first time in her life, she wondered what peace could feel like. Explosions filled the sky above planet Zelenara, casting shadows across the rocky battlefield below. Soldiers from the Human Alliance pushed forward, desperately trying to hold their position against a powerful enemy, the fierce warriors of the alien race known as Zelthans. The air was thick with smoke, screams, and the harsh sounds of battle. Corporal Ethan Blake crouched low behind a large stone, clutching his rifle tightly. Sweat dripped down his forehead, mixing with dirt and soot. He took a quick breath and glanced around at his fellow soldiers, noting their grim faces as they exchanged bursts of gunfire with the advancing Zeltan warriors. Suddenly, a bright flash and deafening explosion erupted nearby, throwing Ethan off balance. He fell to the ground, ears ringing, heart pounding. As he pushed himself up, Ethan spotted something unusual, a Zeldan warrior trapped beneath fallen debris. She struggled to move, her powerful armor dented and damaged. The warrior's bright emerald eyes met Ethan's gaze, filled with defiance yet unable to hide her pain and fear. "Leave her!" shouted one of Ethan's squadmates, Private Laura Hayes, grabbing his arm. "We have to move now!" Ethan hesitated, his eyes locked with the alien warrior's desperate stare. He felt something deep inside, a strong pull toward mercy, toward doing what he knew was right, despite the danger. "I can't," Ethan shouted back. "She die. She's the enemy," Laura yelled, frustration clear on her face. "She'd leave you to die without a second thought." "That's not who we are," Ethan said firmly. He knew he could not turn his back on someone helpless, even if they were considered an enemy. Ignoring Laura's protests, Ethan sprinted across the battlefield, dodging bullets and debris. His heart pounded loudly in his chest, his body tense with adrenaline. Reaching the Zeltan warrior, he knelt down beside her, quickly assessing the situation. Her leg was trapped beneath heavy rubble, immobilizing her completely. The alien warrior stared at Ethan suspiciously, her sharp eyes narrowed. "Why do you help me, human?" She growled weakly, speaking in rough, heavily accented English. "Because." "Leaving you to die wouldn't be right," Ethan answered simply, his hands already working to free her from the rubble. "I'm Ethan. What's your name?" She hesitated for a moment, clearly surprised by his kindness. "Kirina," she finally replied. "All right, Kirina," Ethan said calmly, despite the chaos around them. "Stay still. I'll get you out of here." The rubble was heavy, and Ethan strained with all his strength to lift it, feeling his muscles burn with effort. Gunfire and explosions continued to rage around them, but he remained focused, determined. Finally, with a fierce grunt, Ethan managed to lift the debris just enough for Kirina to pull her injured leg free. Kirina winced, clearly in pain, yet quickly tried to regain her tough appearance. Ethan wasted no time, grabbing her arm and carefully pulling her upright. She stumbled, nearly falling, but Ethan caught her, supporting her weight. "We have to move quickly," he urged, noticing several Zeltan warriors approaching their position, weapons drawn. "Your people will abandon you for helping me," Kirina warned, leaning heavily against him as they moved. "You risk too much." "I don't care," Ethan replied firmly, guiding her toward his squad's defensive line. "I won't leave anyone behind. Not even you." His words seemed to shake Kirina, a puzzled look crossing her face. It was clear such compassion was completely foreign to her. They moved slowly, hindered by Kirina's injuries, bullets kicking up dirt around their feet. Ethan shielded her as best he could, his mind racing with worry. Ahead, Laura and the other soldiers watched anxiously, their faces a mixture of confusion, anger, and grudging respect. "Blake, hurry!" shouted Sergeant Aaron Cole, waving frantically. "We can't hold this position much longer." Gritting his teeth, Ethan pushed onward, determined not to fail. Each step felt heavier than the last. The alien's armored body was heavy, and exhaustion threatened to overtake him. But Ethan refused to give up. As they finally reached the safety of the defensive line, Laura shook her head in disbelief. "You're crazy, Ethan," she muttered, though her voice lacked real anger. "Maybe," Ethan responded breathlessly, gently laying Kirina down behind cover. "But I had to do it." Kirina lay still, breathing heavily, her emerald eyes fixed on Ethan with curiosity and uncertainty. Ethan quickly grabbed a medkit from his pack, carefully attending to her injuries. "Why did you not leave me?" Kirina asked softly, her voice weak from pain. Ethan paused, looking directly into her questioning eyes. "Because everyone deserves a chance to live," he answered sincerely. "Even those who think they're enemies." For the first time, Kirina seemed to truly consider his words. Silence fell between them, the noise of battle fading into the background as an unspoken understanding began to form. Ethan could see the conflict within her, the doubt and confusion, fighting against the rigid belief she had always held. "Rest now," Ethan whispered gently, ensuring she was comfortable. "You're safe here." Kierna slowly closed her eyes, clearly exhausted, yet oddly reassured by his presence. Ethan sat back, his body trembling slightly from the strain of the rescue. Around them, the battle raged on, but in that quiet moment, a small spark of hope had been born, a fragile bond formed from compassion and bravery, against all odds. The wild land was rough and strange for Jack. Every step took him and Alyssa deeper into the unknown. Sometimes the ground was covered in soft blue moss. Sometimes sharp rocks made their feet ache. They had little food and water left, but Alyssa kept moving, always watching for signs of danger. Jack trusted her more than anyone he had ever known. One night, as they rested under the roots of a giant tree, Alyssa spoke quietly. "I miss my home. I worry for my father, but I am glad you are here with me." Jack nodded. "I miss my home too, but I would not leave you now." They listened to the sounds of night, the calls of distant animals, and the soft wind in the trees. Jack noticed that Alyssa seemed tired, but she did not complain. He knew she was strong, but she needed rest and safety. In the morning, they found a stream. Alyssa showed Jack how to gather water safely, and they drank together. The cold water helped him feel better. Jack washed his face and hands, thinking of the mornings on Earth when life was easy. As they walked, Alyssa pointed to a distant shape moving through the trees. "Someone is following us," she whispered. Jack felt a chill, but he stayed calm. "Do you think it's your father's soldiers or the angry nobles?" Alyssa shook her head. "I don't know. We must be careful." They moved quickly, trying to lose anyone behind them. The forest grew thicker, and the path was hard to find. Jack kept close to Alyssa, his eyes searching for danger. They found shelter in a hollow under a fallen log. As night came, Jack built a small fire, and Alyssa cooked some roots and strange plants she found. It was not much, but it kept them alive. As they ate, Alyssa talked about her childhood. She told Jack about the times her father would take her into the wild to learn about the land. "He wanted me to be strong," she said, "but he never wanted me to be afraid." Jack listened, and he realized how much courage Alyssa had. She was a princess, but she was also someone who cared deeply for her people and family. "You are brave, Alyssa. You could have left me behind, but you didn't." Alyssa smiled. "I could never leave you." As they rested, Jack and Alyssa heard voices in the distance. They quickly put out the fire and hid under the log. 2 alien soldiers passed by, looking for them. Jack held his breath, hoping they would not be found. The soldiers left, and Jack and Alyssa stayed hidden until morning. When it was safe, they began moving again. Soon they saw a small village ahead. "We must be careful," Alyssa warned. "Some people may help us, but others will report us." They entered the village at night, wearing cloaks to hide their faces. Alyssa spoke to an old woman selling food. The woman looked at them closely, but gave them bread and water. "Be careful, princess," she whispered. "Not everyone is loyal." Alyssa thanked her and led Jack away. They found a barn behind the village and rested there for the night. As Jack drifted to sleep, he heard Alyssa whisper, "Tomorrow we keep moving." As days passed, they faced many dangers: wild animals, deep rivers, and cold nights. But through everything, Jack and Alyssa became even closer. They learned to trust each other completely. They shared stories and dreams, holding on to hope even when things seemed dark. One day, as they climbed the rocky hill, they saw soldiers far below searching the land. "They are getting closer," Jack said quietly. Alyssa looked worried, but her voice was steady. "We will find a way. My father's men may reach us first. We must hope." As they hurried on, Jack twisted his ankle on a stone and fell. The pain was sharp, and he could not stand. Alyssa helped him to a safe spot under a tree, tearing a strip from her cloak to wrap his ankle. You must rest. I will watch for danger. Jack felt frustrated, but Alyssa's care made him feel safe. Thank you, he whispered. That night, they slept close together, both worried and tired. Alyssa stayed awake, watching the stars. She wondered if her father would ever understand why she had run away with Jack. She hoped he would see that love and friendship were more important than power. The next morning, the sound of footsteps woke them. Soldiers stood nearby. Alyssa stood in front of Jack, ready to protect him. But then a familiar voice called out Orin, her old advisor. He hurried to them, relief on his face. Princess, your father sent me to find you, Orin said. The nobles have tried to take the palace. Your father needs you. But he also wants to see that Jack is safe. Alyssa nodded. We will go with you? Orin helped Jack walk, and together they started back toward the city. The journey was long and hard, but hope grew in their hearts. They knew the future would not be easy, but they were not alone. As they neared the city, Alyssa squeezed Jack's hand. No matter what happens, I am glad we faced this together. Jack smiled. I am too. Side by side, they walked on, ready to face whatever the future held. The days grew more tense inside the palace. Every morning, Jack woke up to the sound of angry voices in the halls and the cold looks of the nobles. He tried to stay calm for Alyssa's sake, but he could feel the danger growing stronger each day. Alyssa stayed close to him, watching every shadow, afraid of what the nobles might do next. One evening, Alyssa's advisor Orin came to them in secret. His face was serious, and his voice shook as he spoke. Princess, I heard something terrible. A group of nobles is planning to attack. They want to take Jack from you and use him to hurt your father. Alyssa's face went pale. What are they planning? Orin lowered his voice even more. They want to capture Jack and show everyone that humans cannot be trusted. They hope to start a rebellion. They will try to attack tonight. Jack listened in shock. What should we do? Alyssa stood up, her eyes full of strength. We must escape. If we stay, you will be in danger, and my father could lose his crown. Orin nodded. I will help you. Follow me when it is dark. I will show you a secret way out of the palace. The hours passed slowly. Alyssa and Jack packed a small bag with food, water, and warm clothes. Jack tried to stay brave for Alyssa, but his heart beat fast in his chest. Alyssa squeezed his hand and whispered, We will be safe. Trust me. When night fell, Orin led them through silent halls and dark passages. They moved quickly and quietly, hiding from the guards and avoiding the areas where angry nobles gathered. Jack felt nervous, but Orin's steady voice guided them. Finally, they reached a hidden door in the back of the palace. Orin pressed a button, and the door slid open with a quiet hiss. Go now, Orin whispered. I will cover your escape. Alyssa hugged Orin tightly. Thank you, old friend. Orin smiled sadly. Be safe, princess. And you, Jack, protect her. Jack nodded, feeling the weight of his promise. Alyssa and Jack slipped into the darkness outside the palace. They ran across quiet gardens and into the wild woods beyond the city. The night was cold and filled with strange sounds. Jack kept close to Alyssa, watching for danger. They moved quickly, hoping no one would follow them. They found a safe place to hide under a group of large trees. Alyssa sat down, breathing hard. We are safe for now, she said quietly. Jack looked at her, worry in his eyes. Do you think your father will be all right? Alyssa nodded, though she looked unsure. My father is strong, but these nobles are dangerous. I just hope Orin can protect him. They ate a little food and tried to rest. Jack looked up at the strange stars above, thinking about Earth and how far away it seemed. Alyssa sat beside him, silent and thoughtful. I am sorry you are in danger, Alyssa said softly. Jack shook his head. You have done so much for me. I would rather be here with you than safe but far away. Alyssa smiled and squeezed his hand. Thank you, Jack. Your words mean a lot. Suddenly they heard a noise in the bush. Jack jumped up, ready to defend Alyssa. But it was only a small animal, with glowing eyes running through the night. They both laughed a little, feeling the tension fade for a moment as dawn broke. They set out again, traveling deeper into the wild lands. The alien forest was full of strange trees and bright flowers, and sometimes they had to hide from patrols. Searching for them, Jack learned quickly, following Alyssa's instructions as they moved through the dangerous land. Once, they came across a wide river with fast water. Alyssa showed Jack how to cross safely by stepping on the large stones. Jack helped Alyssa over the slippery rocks. Careful not to let her fall. When they reached the other side, Alyssa hugged Jack tightly. "You are brave, Jack. Not many humans could do what you have done." Jack blushed but felt proud. "I just want to keep you safe." They traveled for hours, sometimes running, sometimes hiding. By the afternoon, they found a cave hidden by thick vines. Alyssa checked inside and saw it was safe, so they decided to rest there for a while. The cave was cool and dark, but Jack made a small fire from dry sticks. They shared the last of their food, talking quietly about their families and dreams. The firelight made the cave feel safe and warm. Alyssa leaned against Jack, her head on his shoulder. "I do not know what will happen next," she said softly. "But I am glad I am with you." Jack put his arm around her. "We will make it. We have come this far together." As night came, they heard more noises outside, but no one found them. Jack stayed, awake, watching over Alyssa as she slept. He thought about how much had changed since he first arrived. Alyssa was no longer just an alien princess. She was his friend, and maybe even more. When morning came, they left the cave and kept moving. The land grew rougher, with steep hills and thick forests. Alyssa led the way, using her knowledge of the land to find the safest paths. At the top of a hill, they looked back and saw the palace far in the distance. Smoke rose from the city, and Jack worried about what was happening there. "Do you think they will come after us?" he asked. Alyssa nodded. "Yes, but we must stay ahead of them. My father's men are searching for us too. You will want to find us before the nobles do." Jack felt tired but determined. "As long as we are together, we can make it." Alyssa smiled, hope in her eyes. "Yes, Jack, together." They continued into the unknown, ready to face whatever came next. Their friendship, trust, and courage kept them strong, even as danger closed in around them.